Okay, factoring trinomials with a leading coefficient this time. Yesterday, we didn't have the leading coefficient. What I mean by the leading coefficient is this number right here, that A term that they talk about. Because they talk about A, B, and C. We have this A term out in front. Ideas.
I don't know.
Well, maybe we can just put it on the outside, like parentheses. I don't know.
You mean this?
Yeah, something like that.
Good idea, but no, we can't do that. So, okay. You mean
Like,
instead of x minus something, x plus something, you'd have that 5x something? Is that what you're talking about? Okay, good ideas, but what we're going to do with that is we're going to make up a new C term. So a new term to be multiplied to. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that 5 times 6, which is 30. Now, we want factors of 30 that add up to negative 13. So same idea as yesterday. We want to multiply to get 30, add up to get negative 13. Think about it. How about 10 and 3? Does 10 times 3 give us 30? Does 10 plus 3 give us negative 13? No. How do I need to change these? How many need to be negative?
2.
Both of them, right? Why do both of them have to be negative? Right. Negative times negative gives us a positive. Okay, when we add these together, we get our negative 13. Okay, is everyone okay with that? Nothing's changed from yesterday. That's the same. Okay? Now, we have to rewrite with terms of our leading coefficient. So what that's going to look like is you're going to take your 5x squared. All we're doing is we're replacing our negative 13x with the two new factors that we just created. So instead of negative 13x, we're going to have negative 10x minus 3x and then plus 6. Does everyone understand what I just did there?
Sort of.
Okay, it would not matter the way I put them. I could have put negative 3x first. Now we're going to do grouping. What I mean by this is we're going to group our first two terms and our second two terms. Okay, this next thing we're going to factor each one of those. Okay, so looking at this term right here, what's a common factor I can take out of here? What? 5, and what else? What about our x's? I can take 1x out. Okay, if I factor that, what's 5 divided by 5? 1. X squared divided by x. X. 10 divided by 5? 2. X divided by x? None. Okay. What can I take out of this second term? 3. So the reason I have this negative here is because it started negative. Does that make sense? It started negative, so I'm just going to bring that negative out with it. Can I take anything else out? Nope. Negative 3 divided by negative 3? 1. And then we still have that x, right? So x has to stay on the inside. 6 divided by negative 3? Negative 2. Yep. Awesome. What do you notice here? What's the same? Right. When you get to this point, you should have these two things the same. Whatever you factor out, these should always get the same thing. Okay, so that's the way you can check yourself. Ideas of how we finish our answer. So if we distributed it, we would get back eventually to what we started with. Good idea, though. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to take 5x minus 3. That's going to be a new group. And then how many of these do we need, do you think? Since they're the same, we only need one of those. So once you get to this step and you notice they're the same, you know that's one of your factors. And then the numbers you have left are your other factor. This is your answer. How can I check if I did that correctly? Distribute back. Okay, let's just show it. Let's distribute back 5x times x. 5x to the second. 5x times negative 2. Negative 10x. Negative 3 times x. Negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 2. Positive 6. And then what's the last step we have to do? Combine like terms. So we have 5x squared minus 13x plus 6. Did we get back? Yes. Now let me ask you something. If we got to, I'm going to come back to this step right here. What if we wrote these two terms in the different spots? Let's talk about that. So we have 5x squared minus 3x minus 10x plus 6. Could it work that way? So if I did my next step, which is group and factor, is it going to work?
No.
Why not?
Because 6 would be negative.
Can I take anything out of this? I can take x out, and then we're left with that 5x minus 3. Can I take anything out of the second one? A 2, so I get 5x minus 3. Did it still work? What? Why? We still have two things that match, so that's one of our answers. And then what was my other part? Where do I get it from? Yep, I combine these, and I still get my x minus 2. So either way you put your x terms in the middle, it doesn't matter. Okay? This is a lot of trial and error until you get used to it. Okay? What? This one. So usually first step of factoring is seeing if you have anything in common that you can take out. Do all three of these terms have anything in common that we can take out right away? No. Okay? Next step is ask yourself, do we have a leading coefficient in the front? We do. Remember what that next step is? Yep. We're going to take our A times C to create a new C. So take 7 times 4, which is 28. What's the next step? What? Find the factors. So we want factors of 28, so numbers that multiply to 28 to add up to 29. What is it? It is 28 and 1. Does everyone agree? Okay, do I have to change either of those? No. Okay, 28 times 1 gives us 28. 28 plus 1 gives us 29. So we don't have to change anything. What was our next step that we did? What was the whole point of finding these?
Then you have to do like 7x.
Yep.
Plus 28.
Yep, we're going to take these two and we're going to replace our x that we already have. So you're going to take 7x squared plus 28x plus x plus 4. Now, you didn't change the value of the equation or anything. Okay, remember, these two terms just replaced your x up here. Nothing else changed. The reason we did this is so we can group now. What do I mean by grouping? Yep, we're going to take our first two terms and put them together. And we're going to take our second two terms and group them. Now we're going to factor each one separately. So looking at my first group, what's something I can take out? I can take a 7. I heard both. I can take a 7 and an x out. So if I do that, 7 divided by 7, 1 x squared divided by x. X. And then 28 divided by 7? 4. X divided by x. None. Tricky. What can we take out of the second one? Can we take anything out? No. We always want to take something out, though. If we can't take anything out, what can we take out? A 1. Take a 1 out. Why do you think we have to take something out? It's so we can have this term count for something. Okay, remember, in your final answers, you should have 2 sets of parentheses like we did yesterday. Okay, so you always, if you can't take anything out, I need to take a 1 out so that 7x has something to go with. Okay? Did we do it correctly?
Sure.
Why are you saying yes? Because they match. Okay, that was our whole goal, was to get factors that match. Okay, what's our last step? Write them, right? So x plus 4, what's my other group? 7x plus 1. Does it matter which way I write those? No. Let's do this one. Okay, first step of factoring, do you remember what it is? What? Before we even do that, we want to check something else. We want to see if any of them have anything in common. Always, first step of factoring is always to check that first. So do 3x squared, 15x, and 18 have anything in common? What? 3. Trick. You always want to see if we can get rid of this first to make it easier on ourselves. Okay, in this case, we can take out a 3. So let's do it. Take out a 3. 3 divided by 3, 1. And then we still have that x squared. 15 divided by 3, 5. And we still have x. 18 divided by 3, 6. Now, what does this look like? Can we factor this? Just like yesterday, right? There's no leading coefficient that we have to worry about. Okay? So we want factors of 6 that add up to 5. What are they?
3 and 2.
It is 3 and 2. Do we have to change either of those? Can we leave them both positive? Yep. 3 times 2 gives us 6. 3 plus 2 gives us 5. Okay? Tricky part oftentimes happens. Do not get rid of this 3. This 3 is still a part of this factor. Okay, so 3 stays. And then what does this turn into? What does this part turn into? X plus 3 and x plus 2. Remember that from yesterday? Okay, so once we have our 2 factors, remember we just write it in terms of x in our grouping factors. Okay? Now, can we factor any more? No, it's all simplified. So this is your answer. Okay? I'm going to say this a lot. Okay? First step of factoring is to see if you can take anything out. Always make it easier on yourself. See if you can get rid of that leading coefficient so you don't have to go through that whole grouping process. Okay? Always, always, always do that first. Questions so far before we try one more? Yes? We're ready for one more? All right. Okay. What did we take out? What did everyone take out? Show me on your hand. Everyone took out a 5. Okay? So if I take out 5, what do I have left on? 2y to the second. Minus 7y. Plus 6. Okay? Bummer. We still have a leading coefficient. Okay? Is there any other way we can get rid of it? Right. So we have to go to our grouping process. So we're going to take 2 times 6, which is 12. What are we looking for?
Something that adds to 7. Adds 7 multiples.
Multiplies to 12. We want two numbers that multiply to 12 that add up to -7. What are they? Some of you mouthed it. Jasmine, what is it? 4 and 3. Do I have to change either of those? Why do they both have to be negative?
Because if one is positive, it wouldn't be -7.
Right. So this part is a lot of trial and error to figure out which is the right fit. Okay? -4 times -3 gives us 12. -4 minus 3 gives us -7. So there we're good. We have our two factors. What was our next step after that? What was the whole point of finding these? To replace our b term. Okay? Do I get rid of this 5 out here? No, keep it. So we have 5 times, I'm going to keep my a, 2y squared. What do I do next? Minus 4y minus 3y plus 6. So that step, I just replaced my -7y with my two new factors. Okay? If you happen to put 3 first and 4 last, you should still get the same thing. Okay? What do we do next? Right, grouping. Okay, we're going to take our first two terms, group those together. We're going to take our second two terms and group those together. You can leave that negative on the outside too. Okay, do I get rid of the 5? No, 5 stays. What can I take out of that first? I can take a 2 out. What else? Y. Good. So I have 2 divided by 2. 1. Y squared divided by y. Y. 4 divided by 2. 2. And then no y left there. Okay, what can I take out of the second? 3. So I have y plus, should be minus 2. How did I know it was supposed to be minus 2? Right, and I know that these two have to match. Okay, so if you ever get confused with the negative, you know that these two always have to match. Okay? What do I do next? There's one last step, and that's writing our answer. 5 is a part of our answer. What else? What? What goes with that -3? Start here. You know that our pair has to go. And then what's our other pair? Don't forget these. 2y minus 3. That's your answer. Okay?